Hey everybody. Today I shared a class on building your toolkit for self-care for spring, and it got me inspired to do a little video on springtime. So in the West, at least in the US, we have sayings about the spring that March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. And that's referencing the ferociousness of the wind that can come in the early spring. And metaphorically, that wind in Chinese medicine is representative of change. Wind is the harbinger of change, and then it stirs things up, it knocks things off that are old, like old limbs, old leaves get blown off so that something anew can arise. And as I'm thinking about health in the springtime, that's part of our process, is to release and let go things that we no longer need. That's what we do, spring cleaning, right? We clean out the closets. Maybe we do a little liver cleanse or a fasting or a detox or, giving up something for Lent, for example, in the spring. But this wind is also speaking to us about how life changes. Life is constantly in change, the vicissitudes of life and the impermanence of things. So it just brought to my mind this chapter in the Zhuangzi, Wandering on the Way, chapter 5, Symbols of Integrity Fulfilled. It says, an individual may be physically mutilated, misshapen, or, have mishaps, yet spiritually whole and attractive. The highest type of person is beyond all emotion. That doesn't mean you don't have emotion. It just means that the emotions don't drive you. So in this little section 4, Confucius said, life and death, preservation and loss, failure and success, poverty and wealth, worthiness and unworthiness, slander and praise, hunger and thirst, cold and heat. These are all the transformations of affairs and the operations of destiny. That's wind going back and forth. Day and night they alternate before us, but human knowledge is incapable of perceiving their source. Therefore, we should not let them disturb our equanimity, nor should we let them enter our numinous treasury. To make the mind placid and free-flowing without letting it be dissipated in gratification, causing it to have springtime with all things day and night uninterruptedly, this is to receive and engender the seasons in one's mind. This is what I mean by wholeness of one's abilities. So, here Zhuangzi seems to be, to me, speaking of the vicissitudes of life, and not to let them disturb our equanimity. Here, this little passage, causing it to have springtime with all things day and night uninterruptedly. I take that to mean that, again, in Chinese medicine, one of the invitations of springtime is to be able to go with the flow, whatever's happening. One day, it's warm and we're out in a t-shirt, working in the garden, but the next day it could be snowing, freezing all the little buds that have come forward. So there's something about nature doesn't contend with the weather. The weather's always changing, but there's some rhythm, some integrity, some harmony, no matter what is happening. Even if the shoots come out of the ground and get frozen, they still live. They still live because they're in harmony. I'm looking out the window because my irises got frozen, but even though the tips died, the The shoots are still coming up from the ground. So our movement today is called what I call sidewinder, because it reminds me of those snakes in the desert that move. But you might come up with your own image while you're doing this form, which is great for springtime. It benefits the liver and the gallbladder. It's good for the digestion. But it's also, because you're going one side to the other, it's also speaking to us about vicissitudes. One day this is happening, or one moment this is happening, the next moment it's not. The opposite might be coming in, and just how we find our rhythm with the flow. So come and join me on the ground. We're going to lie down on the back. And this is a movement that travels, meaning that you might find you start in one position and you end up, scooted along the ground. And that's just fine. That's one of the things I like about it. So remember, with all Dao Yin, we want to start with a body scan, which you can do in whatever position is comfortable for you. If your back prefers that you don't have your legs extended, you can stand your feet and bend your knees and do your scan in this position. If you need a cushion under your head, or let's say you want your legs extended and you need a cushion underneath them, take one minimally, because we want to give the body an opportunity to release. And if we prop it up too much, it doesn't quite have that. So coming to rest on your back. And you can check my body and breath scan video for a longer version. But if you're just looking for a little sip, if you're comfortable to close your eyes, that can help draw your senses inward. And simply you can just come to notice, here I am resting on the ground. The earth is here. And it's supporting me. There are many things we can notice in a body scan. For example, you might just want to tune into the length of your body. Just feel yourself from head to heels. Taking measure of yourself. You can also take measure of the weight, just noticing what parts of you feel heavy resting on the earth. Other parts maybe not so much. You can take measure of your width, side to side. Or maybe something else is calling your attention, a sensation, a particular place. You can tune into that. Just noticing what's here for you. There's no need to change or fix anything. You might notice a response that you have about it. Maybe it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. Maybe you want it to go away. Maybe you want it to stay. Just noticing. And two, that you're breathing. So you're sustained by the air and the atmosphere through the breath, as well as sustained by the support of the earth. And here you are, in between the two. Earth and heaven. So after you just tune in like that, you can roll the legs a little bit and then come to stand your feet, bending your knees. And now you can take your arms wherever you like, out to the side, up overhead, whatever works for your shoulders, and just feel the stretch wherever your arms land. It might be a stretch through your chest or your armpits, your arms, shoulders, your upper back, whatever calls your attention that you notice here. We're going to walk our legs together so that the inner edges of the feet The inner edges of the thighs are touching, the inner calves are touching, and we're going to keep the legs in contact with each other as we make the movement side to side. So very simply, on an exhalation, let your knees drop down toward the ground any amount to one side. Feel the stretch through your body. And then as you inhale, come back to stand the feet. Then exhale, going the other way. Keep the legs connected to each other, touching. And then inhale, come back. And exhale, that's the movement. Twist to one side, feel the stretch. Inhale, come up. Exhale, go to the other side. And you let the breath contain the movement. That means if you want to move your legs faster, you're going to move your breathing faster. And you might notice too that I'm moving my head opposite my knees. That came quite naturally. And it might come naturally to you too. So if your head naturally wants to move opposite your knees, let it. And if it doesn't, you could experiment and just try it. Just move your head opposite your knees. As you go, if you want, you can close your eyes and just inquire, as I'm moving like this, I'm like what? Let's see if an image comes to you. I've run out of room, so you just keep going. Exhaling to twist, inhaling to come back to starting position. Get your rhythm and just investigate. As you move like this, you are like, what? And then whenever you're ready, you can come and stretch out again. If you need to crawl yourself back up along the floor, please do. So you have plenty of space to stretch out. And once again, take a scan. Just noticing what your response is to the movement. How did the movement affect you? Do you feel tingling, vibration in the body? Do you feel other sensations? If you took measure of yourself as your body scanned, do you notice anything different about your length, weight, or width? And earth and heaven are here still. Has your relationship to them changed through the breath or the way you're resting on the ground? If you notice any tension, is it possible to let it go any amount? I'm feeling a lot of tingling in my arms. How about you? What do you notice? And then you can once again just move a little bit. Give yourself a little hugging your knees into your chest. You can come to roll to a side to come up to sitting, or you can roll up and down a few times along your spine to come up. So that movement of going back and forth can help with our springtime energy within ourselves that deals with dealing with those vicissitudes, the windiness of life. That wind is the environmental factor of spring. Just like in summer, the environmental factor is heat, in winter it's cold. In the spring, it's the wind. So if you have issues making decisions or planning something, creative endeavor, and you want some help, get down and get Dao Yin. See what happens if you practice every day, how these movements can help you mentally, emotionally, physically, getting in sync with the seasons and supporting organ function, your physiology too. So, hope you enjoyed that. And remember, that movement and more is in my book. I think Sidewinder is on page, it's one of the first movements in here. Oh, sorry. That's called Swimming Snake, not Sidewinder. But still, you know, whatever image you came up with, whatever metaphor you came up with, that's important. Has resonance. So you call it whatever you want. It's on page 43 in my book. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. Come back. See me sometime. Ciao.